Replay. We kick off 5 straight days of Commander 19 decks with Anje Falkenrath. Does Anje have the tools to dodge an incoming Aurelia attack? Find out next on Commander Replay. I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, or if you just want to get some high quality games of MTGO, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. Today's deck list comes as voted on by Patreon supporters, with Anje Falkenrath taking down 38% of the vote. Welcome back everyone, playing some Anje Falkenrath today. Take a look at this opening hand. It's a one-lander, we're definitely going to need to mulligan that one. Ooh, into two-lander, no red mana. Land count in this deck is a bit low. I think we need a mulligan again. I think we're going to 6. Should be okay. We've got looting built into our commander, so just want to make sure we can get our commander into play safely, so let's mulligan. Alright, there's 2 lands with a Vampiric Tutor, and we have both of our colors, though, so I think that's the best one of the bunch. Probably need to increase the land count just a bit. What can we put to the bottom? These are all fantastic looting options. I guess Worm Coil to the bottom. And just taking a look around the board today, we have 4 red decks at the table. And these are all going to be pretty aggressive commanders, I think. So I think we're going to see some good aggro action today. And the turn cycle appears to be out of order. I love when that happens. Yep, that's a turn 1 Soul Ring into a Dowsing Dagger for the Ilharg opponent. And they're going to give us the Dowsing Dagger tokens. Sweet. Brings back to our turn, we draw into a Chainer. Let us play the Luxury Suite. I'm going to try not to use the Vampiric Tutor, because it's such a good card and can find so many good things in the deck, so we're going to try to hold off on that just a little bit. Here comes a Burning Prophet for the Feather opponent. And as I mentioned, we're playing Anje Falkenrath today. We are playing Red-Black Reanimator. This is not a Madness deck. There are a couple Madness cards in the deck. There's a few that just seem like they'd be good enough to have around anyway, to use with the ability and all that good stuff. But we are not heavily focused on the Madness thing. I was able to play the Precon at GP Vegas, and it was a ton of fun. Ended up losing. It was a very long and grindy game, but I did end up losing to the Sultai deck. They hit like all of their token things, and I think they hit like an overwhelming Stampede or something like that, and that was pretty much that. But out of the box, the Anje Precon is really recursive. My stuff kept getting blown up, and I just kept bringing it back and bringing it back and bringing it back. It was pretty sweet, so had a lot of fun with it, that was for sure. Really cool commander. The discard draw card thing with Madness is really interesting because you do a lot of stuff on the end step. Almost feels sort of like a control deck in a sense because of the amount of things you're doing at the end step and not doing during your main phase. Red-Black, as far as I'm aware, tends to be more of a main phase tap out kind of style deck. So Anje just opens up some really cool play styles. We did not catch that land that I was hoping for, so that means we're going to be using the Vampiric Tutor for a land, which is not the most exciting use of a Vampiric Tutor ever. But yeah, I mean, I guess we could go for a Soul Ring. We could go for Mana Crypt. Mana Crypt gets us a little bit more mana. Opponent's going to lay down a 10th District Legionnaire. Whenever you cast a spell that targets 10th District Legionnaire, put a +1/+1 counter on it, then scry 1. Does not seem terrible. I've heard that's a thing in Standard right now. Haven't really been paying so much attention to Standard, but I've heard it's good. So it seems like Feather's got like a little bit of a prowess type thing going on over here. Anyway, talking about what our commander does, it's 1 red-black for a 1/3 with haste. Tap it, discard a card, draw a card. Whenever you discard a card, if it has Madness, untap Anje. Really, really sweet. Like I was talking about, you can do a lot of things at the end step. It just has a really different play style than a lot of red-black decks that I've ever played. So very, very cool. And like I said, we're playing Reanimator. Our job is to dump all these big creatures into our graveyard and then pull them out with all of our reanimation spells. You know what? The other thing we could do too is we could just Vampiric Tutor into Reforge the Soul. And I may end up doing that instead because we don't actually need these big creatures in our hand really. So I think I'm going to try that. And that should get us into more lands, hopefully get us into some ramp. Probably disrupt our opponents a little bit too. While I was talking there, a Stone Hero Giant came into play for the Aurelia, and Champion Athun is playing an Aurelia deck based very heavily on my Weapons of War build. They were asking me some questions about it before the game. Nothing like facing your own monstrosity in a game. This is probably going to be a bad time. Since I'm confused about where we are in the turn cycle, I'm just going to lay down this Vampiric Tutor right now, just to make sure we don't miss what's going on. And then Ilharg coming into play for the Ilharg opponent. Once that starts attacking, that will drop big fatties into play, and that is always scary. So we're going to grab this Reforge the Soul, And then bring it back to our turn. It's a miracle. We draw Reforge the Soul. So we will cast the Reforge the Soul. Cast Reforge the Soul. So we get our way into some lands and some reanimate spells. That is what I'm liking. We discard a From Under the Floorboards. We don't have any mana, though. So we'll just have to let that one go. We do draw a Phyrexian Tower, which seems really good with these plant tokens. In fact, we can cast Exhume this turn, or even Stitch Together. Actually, no, we don't have... Do we have Threshold? We do, in fact, have Threshold, so both Exhume or Stitch Together going to be good choices for us. Probably Stitch Together, actually. Someone said something about a Gisela. Inferno Titan in the graveyard for opponent. Mindclaw Shaman. Yeah, I don't know that we want to bring in that stuff back. And a Gisela for opponent. So probably the Stitch Together. What are we bringing back? We've got a Balefire Dragon. We've got a Herald of Leshrac. That's good for the mana. We've got a Chainer, which helps us get other creatures back. No creatures in hand, though. Although, it doesn't care what we discard, so just discard a card. You may cast a creature card from your graveyard this turn. Flayer of the Hatebound is okay. Flayer of the Hatebound can shoot things, which is kind of cool. Probably on the Herald of Leshrac. Herald of Leshrac or Balefire Dragon, I think, is where we want to be. I'm going to try the Herald of Leshrac just because, well, let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm going to go for the Herald to get the extra mana. I think that should be a pretty cool play. So we're going to need to use the Phyrexian Tower, sacrifice a plant token, make double black, and get this Herald of Leshrac into play. See who's got removal. If you guys aren't familiar with this one, it's at a Cold Snap. It is 7 mana for a 2/4 flying. Cumulative upkeep, gain control of a land you don't control. It gets +1/+1 for each land you control, but don't own. When it leaves the battlefield, each player gains control of each land that they own that you control. Essentially, we have cumulative upkeep, steal a land. It gets bigger for each land that we steal, and when it leaves the battlefield, opponents get all their lands back. So this thing will paint a pretty big target on itself, but if it sticks around, will get us a ton of mana, which is really cool. And Feather coming into play for our opponent. Opponent said, "Who's playing Aurelia? I'm wondering if my UI is bugged." So let's take a look at what our opponents are playing today. I am joined by 2 Patreon supporters. First up, we have TRK piloting Feather the Redeemed. And we've seen Feather a bunch. Looks like they've got more of a prowess spell-slingery build going on. We'll be interested to see what other stuff they have going on in the Feather deck. Like I've talked about numerous times at this point, Feather, a really interesting card in that there's a lot of different ways to build around it, and there's a lot of difficult choices that go into deck building with Feather. I found that you really got to play test it a lot to figure out what you want to be doing. So we'll see what they've got for us today. We do need to be careful of a number of things with that deck. It can kill you in a hurry if you ignore it, so you got to watch out for that. And while I was talking, a whole bunch of things happening. Sword of Feast and Famine coming down for the Stone Hero Giant, equips the Sword of Feast and Famine, and fires off a Swords to Plowshares on the Ilharg that was in play. Now, they didn't sequence that the best because as they swing in our way, we have a green and black creature, so we cannot block. We will have to discard. If they wait to Swords, they can activate the Stone Hero Giant after declaring attacks, and then their lands on tap, and then they could Swords after that. So they could have had a second equipment on the Stone Hero Giant, and this early in the game, something like a Fire and Ice is going to be pretty good, and Umezawa's Jit is going to be pretty good. Lots of different things you could get that would all be pretty good, so bit of incorrect sequencing there from our opponent. They did say that it was their first time out with this deck, so, you know, things like that can be expected. And actually, I stumbled onto a really cool trick that I've been waiting to try out with Stone Hero Giant. If you've got Stone Hero Giant and open mana, you get a Helm of the Host, put it on Stone Hero Giant, get another Stone Hero Giant, and then do whatever you're going to do with the copy instead of the first one. Cute little trick. Here's a Blasphemous Act, so gonna be starting everything over. I'm fine with that. There's some nasty things on board. Stone Hero Giant is a very powerful card. Actually, they can activate the Stone Hero Giant in response, get themselves a red sword right here, if they wanted to, and that would be kind of scary. Opponent's gonna bandage on their Feather, sure. Prophet will trigger, Feather will trigger. Yep, gonna get a Fire and Ice on the Stone Hero Giant, so Stone Hero Giant gonna stick around. And Herald of Leshrac leaves the battlefield trigger. We did not control any additional lands, so nothing doing there. Here comes the Swiftfoot Boots for the Ilharg opponent. Fleshbag Marauder or something of the sort would be a good idea for this Stone Hero Giant. It's an Urabrask. We can't cast the Urabrask, so I guess that means we're on play Scalding Tarn. We could Exhume. If we Exhume, that means Gisela. What do other opponents have? Mindclaw Shaman, Inferno Titan, 10th District. Maybe Exhume isn't really where we want to be. I think that puts us on Cast Our Commander. Crack the Scalding Tarn. Get a Badlands. Cast Our Commander. And we'll wait till the end step to do our draw and discard thing. Probably just going to pitch the Urabrask. Would love to not take another hit from the double swords right here. There's a Mother of Runes, yep. Interesting that we made Feather discard a God's Willing, which would have protected them from the Blasphemous Act. Opponent gonna cycle a Desert. And I think we're looking at Aurelia plus Giant doing some wacky stuff this turn. I think that's a thing that's gonna happen. Opponent's got protection from 4 colors also. That's not the easiest thing to deal with. Yep, here comes Aurelia. Here comes Aurelia. This is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt. Giant in our way. Not amazing. Not amazing. Aurelia trigger. We cannot block. We get hit with 2 swords. Yup. Opponent's going to shoot the Mother of Runes. We have to discard. It's going to be the Urbrask. Opponent going to put a Titan Strength on the Mother of Runes. That doesn't save it, though. It is 2 damage. Gets them a Scry. Oh, they've got the Bandage. Gonna Bandage. This is all kind of moot, though, because opponent can just attack again and do all of this again. Aurelia our way. Giant our way. Yup. Getting cleaned out right here. And, yep, gonna activate the Giant, get something else. It's a Sunforger. Oh, we're in trouble now. And this is gonna be like most of our life. One thing that we could do, if we exhume and get Flare, then Flare comes in. It has enough power to shoot Aurelia. We need to discard once again. I think it's gonna... Oh, man, the Whip is what gains us life back. That seems not amazing. I think Avacyn's Judgment, that one seems a ways away from being good. Ooh, that does give us an untap with Anje. So I think we just have to loot. We're gonna have to start looting. Get rid of the Whip. That's an Animate Dead. Step in the right direction. Might as well cast the Avacyn's Judgment. Just do 1 to opponent's face. Oh, nope, we can't afford it. And opponent's got a Soul Ring. A lot of this has to do with the Mana Crypt into the Giant. That is just some lucky plays right there. Hitting the Mana Rocks while we have not. Also, we're going last. Going last, never good. Never good. There's a Cage Sun for opponent, so I think they're on the just hope to survive plan. And a Mask of Memory. Yep. Brings it back to our turn. That's a Fleshbag Marauder. That's a way out of this. Alright. Cast Fleshbag Marauder. Opponent's going to activate Sunforger. Fairies Protection. Probably. No, they don't have Fairies. They have Ghost Way, though. Nope, they have Fairies Protection. Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to get this thing back at instant speed, because that's really what we would want. No real reason for us to go anywhere. I'm going to add an Ingot Chewer to the deck. Give ourselves a way to get rid of artifacts. Here's a Mana Crypt for the Feather opponent. Hopefully they've got something good, because here comes Feather back to play. Yep. Gonna use Renegade Tactics to draw a card. Yep, re-equip the Sunforger. Yep, opponent just gonna kill us. Opponent gonna get some more equipments. Alright, that means we need more interaction in the deck. We've added an Ingot Chewer. I think we should probably add the full suite of a Merciless Executioner. We should add Karavak to this deck. Adding Karavak. Merciless Executioner, what's the other one? What's the new one? Plague Crafter. So we've got all of those. Might as well add Slum Reaper also. Maybe we can do without Slum Reaper. Probably add a Toxic Deluge. Get rid of this. Dark Withering's okay. Down we go. Opponent gets 3 sword triggers. Alright, we're going to add a Judun the One-Eyed. Probably add a Noxious Gearhulk too, actually. Oh, you know what? We need Duplicant. Duplicant, we'll get a Noxious. Does put us a few cards over. Herald of Leshrac was very slow. I mean, it was in play for 1 turn, but yeah, I think it's just too slow to be good these days. I want to try out this Archfiend still. And it looks like opponent's just scooping it up right there. No one's got anything for Aurelia with 3 swords and a Sunforger, so... Alright, let's see. We need to cut 4 cards. What are we getting rid of? Maybe Archfiend of Vifner isn't actually that good, since we're not doing that much madness. I mean, I don't think we're probably... I guess with the wheels? No, with the wheels, it's still probably really good. From Under the Floorboards, I think that one can go. It's fine, but it's not really a big part of our plan. Fiery Temper, same thing. It's a good card, but it's just not really part of our plan so much. Exhume was a bit awkward. I think I'm going to cut Exhume. And I think we'll be okay without Call of Netherworld.